Welcome to Job Talk 1 all across America on hometownstation.com. Also, I can't hear myself, Cody. What did you just do? Hometownstation.com. Yeah. And we have a great website, hometownstation.com. You can listen all over the country. Our show is soon to be syndicated, heard every day of the week all across the United States of America. Thanks. Got a big crew here. Aaron Moskowitz, maybe America's #1 authority on absolutely the job market. And, of course, the chairman of the board, Tom Cairns, who is the HR director for Homeland Security. And he's really our authority, ladies and gentlemen. He knows everything about HR. So today we got a wonderful guest coming on in a minute or two. His name is Eric Harvey, and the book that he wrote. And hopefully Eric has a great personality, so hopefully we can have him as a regular on our show when we go daily here in a couple of weeks. His book is Bridging the Generation Between Millennials and Boomers in the Workplace. And you know, if you listen to the show every week, you know I'm constantly bagging on these millennials because I'm not sure that they're contributing in the same way work ethic-wise. I mean, they're smart. Your generation's smart, Aaron. I mean, there's no question you're smart. Not as smart as me, but you're smart.
Well, again, I'm technically Gen X, but okay, I'll play the millennial today.
Well, what's a millennial? 18 to
35, they can't even decide what that period of time that they represent is. So,
is the government, Tommy, hiring more young people than guys my age or your age? Be honest.
No, I wouldn't say so. No.
Really?
No, because one thing that I ran into in the government is that people have been around the government for a long time. So it was not uncommon for me to have employees that were there 30, 35, 40 years. So they started when they were rather young. Obviously,
kind of like a congressman.
So you literally can't discriminate. So if a frog walked into your office, don't laugh. I mean, I got a frog in my backyard that's smarter than most people I know. So we call my frog Helen. Okay. So if a frog walked into your office and had the right resume, you got to hire the frog.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Let's bring our guest in. He's from Dallas, Texas, somewhere in Texas. I'm not sure it's Dallas. Eric, are you from Dallas?
Well, actually, I was for many years. I just moved to Pensacola Beach, Florida.
Oh, you spoiled little brat. Yeah.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, how beautiful it is. Well, welcome to the show. Hopefully you're a regular. I know you have a great personality. We like fun people on our show because our show moves fast. So I always like to ask author this question. Why did you write the book, Bridging the Generation Between Millennials and Boomers in the Workplace? I think it's a great title. I think it's a timely title. But why did you write the book?
Well, I've been in the human development field my entire career at some level, and training and development in particular. And I've written a number of books, 27 of them, and I was looking for one that had a significance and relevance. And certainly I employ boomers, I employ millennials, I have a lot of my kids are millennials, and I just saw that difference. And we had a format that we had done with a book about 15 years ago that I've been looking for this one side versus the other concept. So this book is written kind of unusually. It's two books in one. We took on about 12 different viewpoints that we've discovered, and my co-author, Solana Clark, discovered, that are quite a bit different between millennials and boomers. And we wrote a book that's upside down and backwards. We took the viewpoint from a boomer standpoint on the one side of the book, turn it over upside down and backwards. It takes from the same viewpoint, but from a millennial's perspective.
Well, when you look at, and again, a full disclaimer here, I'm older than 45. When you look at the millennials today, does your book, and I'm going to read your book and I'm going to have you back. I know Becca's going to send the book. The work-life balance, give me a ranking as to where the issues are right now for the millennials. They want more balance in their life, right?
Right.
And they want to be able to work less hours. And I'm okay with that. But, how does, I'm a production guy. How do we get the productivity that we need to keep our country going?
Well, I also am a boomer. In fact, I'm just 2 months into being the oldest boomer that there is.
So I know how old you are. I got you. Go ahead.
That's the one age group we know.
There's certainly a difference. There's certainly a difference, and the difference is because we're talking about, for the most part, and as Aaron said, it's not an exact time period for millennials. Most people will agree they're in their 20s. There's an exact time period for boomers, 1946 birth to 1964, but millennials are, for the most part, in their 20s. And there's what we got in the workplace then are people, with 40 years age difference. If you take the oldest millennial, we're probably talking about a one-generation difference. If you're talking about the youngest millennial to the oldest boomer, we're talking about two-generation differences. So, certainly, having grown up in the 60s, there was a major difference between my perspective and that of my parents, et cetera. So this is nothing more than that reflection difference. But we're now seeing it dramatically because just this past year, for the first time, the number of workers in the workplace has now grown larger with millennials than they are with boomers. Boomers are retiring fast and being replaced with situations where, in some cases, definitely in high technology organizations, millennials are becoming the bosses of boomers.
One of the ways that you could describe too the millennial is before Google.
Yes.
So the boomers are before sense. Google, and the millennials are after. Question for you, Eric, in terms of your bridge, is it a long bridge or a short bridge between the differences?
Well, I think there are many differences, but I don't think in many cases they're as profound as we like to make them. Everyone is at a place for the same purpose, common goals, common interests, etc. However, what is considered a common interest, like work-life balance, is different. The amount of time on vacation, what clothes you wear to work, will I bring my dog to work? What about retirement? How long do I have to be there to show loyalty? I remember back in my first job as a personnel manager, you had someone on their resume that was 30 years old that had 4 jobs. They're a job hopper. Now they're 30 years old, they have 4 jobs. You say, what the hell have you been doing? How come you're not 16? Because they're just, I'll get on the street, quicker. They don't think about, pensions and retirement. They don't think about when I leave the home. I wanted to get out as soon as I got out of college.
But with the pensions topic, they don't even have a chance at getting any kind of retirement.
That's true. Qualified pensions are a thing of the past, let's face it.
And that's something that, who had? The boomers?
Well, there was a time. You don't even know this, but Eric and Tommy and I know this. There was a time where we had to compete for workers. There was a time where offering pension plans was a way to keep your top players. Today a ball player gets millions and millions of dollars. You wrote 27 books, dog. I got to have you back. Talk about your books. My last book, huh?
That's a lot of words.
He's an author. Eric Harvey is our guest, ladies and gentlemen. Eric Harvey's our guest. What's the real title of your book? Bridging what?
No, actually, the title is Millennials versus Boomers.
There you go.
Right.
Okay. There you go.
On one side, and it says, listen, learn, and succeed together. I think that's the key to the solution, is that, in life we all celebrate, sensational differences, and we're seeing that now in society and politics and whatever. But the fact is we have people that, for whatever combination of purposes, are in one place at one time. I think the effective organizations and effective leaders know how to tap the strengths of the two different groups.
Eric, does your book, I got in a big fight with Aaron at lunch today about culture. Does your book talk about culture in the workplace between millennials and boomers?
Well, because it takes on 12 different topics, it doesn't go deep into culture. What it does, it talks about, for example, our topics are teamwork and working together, loyalty on the job, dealing with change, dealing with work-life balance, dealing with technology, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then each one of those viewpoints gets about 4 or 5 pages of that in kind of a collective belief system of millennials versus, on the other side of the book, the collective belief system of boomers.
All right, I want to ask you a question. I've got to do a little quick plug for some of our sponsors. Pools by Ben. If you've got a swimming pool, call them up. They'll come out. They'll do a free analysis. Tommy, I noticed you got algae in your pool. Call Pools by Ben. Of course, our show brought to you by, for a long time, Lisa's Tax Service. Also dedicating the show today to Bruce Cerati. Hope you're going to do better, buddy. Bruce Cerati dedicating the show today. So the show's called Job Talk 1, soon to be all across America. We're going to be on daily, guys. Do you know that? Every day. We need to have Eric back as a frequent cast member. When you look at your 12 issues, what's the number one of the 12 that really, after you got done doing your investigation, went, wow, that was a big one? Which one of the 12?
I talk about this very personally. I don't know in society which is the biggest, but it has to do with, we'll say, loyalty to the job. Having been in HR myself for many years, having been employed by corporations, started my own company 38 years ago, there's just a different perspective to what it means to be loyal. I think back in, quote, the old days, you had to demonstrate your loyalty first in longer terms, longer commitments, longer expectations for promotion, etc. Now, they want things so much quicker. Information quicker, promotion quicker, advancement quicker, change quicker. So that all kind of compresses itself into what one might determine as loyalty.
His name is Eric Harvey. He'll be a frequent guest because he's fun. His book is Bridging the Gap Between Millennials. What's the exact title? Give me the exact title one more time.
Millennials versus boomers on one side and boomers versus millennials on the other side.
So, Tommy, loyalty, when you work for the government, and you know I'm not beating you up when I say this, but you can't get fired. But so where is loyalty? How does the government, how do governments of all sizes, is loyalty even part of the conversation?
You know, with the federal employees, they get beat up a lot, and you hear that, and I'm
not beating them up. My question is not about beating them up. What I'm trying to say from this standpoint is that they actually do meaningful work, and the things that we tend to see in the public are the major mistakes and a lot of other bureaucracies or other things, and that exists, don't get me wrong. However, there are some significant things that are being done by people that they don't get really any kind of recognition. They don't certainly get the amount of money that you could get in a private sector sort of role. So the loyalty facet is really tied to what they do. There are obviously some security issues that you get as a result of being a federal employee, and that's maybe one of the things that might keep them there. But believe it or not, there's a lot of great work that's being done. It's interesting, Eric. You and I are the same age, so loyalty, and we didn't have a prep before the show, but that would have been my number one. And I'm also an employer, also employ hundreds of people, have employed thousands of people over the years. And I always looked at loyalty. So, Mr. Aaron Moskowitz, what do you think about what Eric said about loyalty? Do you even understand loyalty?
I do, but I mean, everybody has to understand we live in a different world now, global economy, a lot more M&A going on.
What's M&A?
Mergers and acquisitions, companies being bought very quickly. And a lot of the millennials have seen their parents, and they've also gone through these situations. 2-year-old company gets bought out.
And Eric, there's no more loyalty in the. I don't want to give apologies.
There's loyalty to their career, to their specialty.
Right.
Maybe not to the company, but to what they do. And if you've done 10 internships out of college in graphic design, do you really need to, go through the strokes?
How can you really be loyal to an employer that you're not sure is going to be around?
Yeah.
And Eric had said at the outset, it's not going to be atypical to have 4 or 5 different jobs or companies, and that's just the way it is. So loyalty goes both ways, right. And so it's not the same kind of thing where when I first started, it wasn't uncommon where you would stay with that company, and I was fortunate that I did, but I'm not the usual thing.
A little bit of an outlier over
here. We went through several mergers too, so it wasn't like we didn't have that happen.
What's your takeaway on your book between the generation between millennials and boomers? What's your takeaway, Eric Harvey?
Between the two groups?
Yeah, what's your takeaway? When you finished your book and you sat in your quiet, luxurious leather chair in your office, and you said, "Wow, this is really something." What I just wrote. What was your takeaway? What did you take away from writing this book?
That's a very good question. I think it was the sheer number of differences.
Wow.
As opposed to the one major difference. There's so many things. You keep on, shaking your head. I just didn't realize that, or and my kids point things out, and my grandchildren point things out. It just surprises me. Someone mentioned before the issue of security, and I think we've commingled those two terms. I don't think the 24-year-old is thinking about security the way people did 40 years ago. They're willing to challenge things that were just accepted and normal and expected. So it's just the sheer multitude of unique, separate perspectives of how we look at things. Whether it be clothes we wear to work, whether it be what time we come into work, whether we have work rules. I remember a rule was an abiding principle that you did not break. Now it's considered, a consideration, for suggested change. Things are moving so fast. I think speed, the speed of change, the speed of communication flow, is one thing that really continues to amaze me. How much more information people have and I have quicker than we used to have. I started off remembering, one black and white TV in the living room with 3 channels. And now, the amount of information we get, and millennials get, is massively different.
Well, I want to have you back in a couple of weeks. That's a big subject that I'd like to save a nice segment for, because I think when you look at all the data, all the input that we get from so many sources, how do we make those hard decisions? So I want to tease the audience and have you back. Are you on Facebook? I'm trying to friend you on Facebook right now.
Yes, I'm on Facebook.
Okay, so trying to multitasking.
It's only a radio show.
So in the last question, then I got to kick you out, but I'll have you back. Eric Harvey is named. The title of his book is "Bridging the Gap Between." Well, you give the title one more time.
Millennials versus Boomers.
Millennials versus Boomers.
Millennials versus Boomers. Who would buy the book? Would HR directors buy this book? Who would buy the book? Seriously.
Well, it's only been out for 2 months, and we have, of course, the typical number of individual purchases, but a lot of institutional buyers, because they're dealing with these issues on a daily basis.
No kidding.
And I think understanding, the first thing has to, in fact, that's what the subtitle is to listen, learn, and succeed together. The goal is to succeed together.
Kumbaya.
It's first you got to sit there and shut your mouth for a while and just listen to the other side. I got to do with that. I have a very interesting company. Is my 2 principals in the company, because I'm mostly retired, are my 2 daughters. That has an extra special dimension to it. My publisher is a millennial. My business manager is a millennial. And I've got to stop and realize that I'm a different age group. I got to listen to their perspective. I'm holding them accountable. I'm expecting different outcomes. But I got to stop and listen a little bit. We both have a shared stake in the success of the enterprise, the book, and this and that, but we have very different viewpoints. And I think that's important for both parties. I think millennials need to stop and listen. And I got to get my daughters, again, which is tricky because they're the 2 principals of the company. I said, look, I really respect your opinions, but you got to listen to a perspective that may be a little bit different. Now, I always could pull out the trump card because I own most of the stock in the company. But I very infrequently do that. I don't want to do that.
Well said. We're going to go to a hard break. We're going to lose you. Eric Harvey is his name. What's the title of the book, Aaron?
Millennials versus Boomers.
You're a great radio guest. I'm going to have you back in a couple weeks. I want to get into that subject that we teased the audience about. And stay tuned. I'm going to Facebook you, and hopefully you'll become a cast member as you're retiring down there in Pensacola. Thank you so much, Eric. You betcha. Have a great day. Also, podcast, if you go on KHTS 12:20 a.m. tonight, the podcast will be on 6 o'clock our time, so you can listen to the interview and listen to our show. Job Talk 1 will be right back.